Hi, Andrew from SACS. This is a brief explainer on workforce planning and the SACS model of workforce planning. First, let's talk about strategy. For a workforce plan to be effective, you need to be able to forecast the future state of your workforce that will be necessary to be able to deliver the outcomes that your organisation needs to achieve. Now that's interesting, isn't it? The outcomes that you need to achieve. Many organisations think they have strategy, but what they have is concepts or tactics. Concepts are things like an engaged community. Tactics are, we should do this tomorrow. I think that many organisations have not truly worked out the outcomes that they need to achieve both now and in the future. And we help organisations to clarify that in a strategy clarification kind of an exercise. Because if you can't identify the outcomes that you'll need to achieve 2-3 years down the track, then how can you plan the workforce that will be necessary to deliver those outcomes? So workforce planning really puts the acid on strategy, and the time horizon that we're recommending is only a couple of years. Research into workforce planning suggests that if you try to forecast longer than a couple of years, the intrinsic inaccuracy of those forecasts makes it a waste of time, basically. So forecast as accurately as possible for, let's say, 2 or maybe 3 years, and do it annually as a rolling reforecast. That's the best way of spending your effort on workforce planning. One of the elements of workforce planning that's really effective is analysis of the current state of your workforce and the environmental factors surrounding it. Now, what do I mean by the current state of your workforce? Well, that's things like your staff turnover. It's things like your demographic. How elderly is your workforce? It's things like the demographic in terms of gender split. It's things like fractionalization of your workforce. And what I mean by that is that if all of your employees are working full-time, that's a fraction of 1. But if on average they're working half-time, that would be a fraction of 0.5. All of those things are really important to map and can identify vulnerabilities, like, for instance, staff turnover. In workforce planning, we benchmark your staff turnover to give you an idea about how it compares to population average. Very important thing to do. The environmental factors surrounding your current workforce are things like geographically, where are you? Are you regional? Are you rural? Are you urban? What's your legislative framework? What are the expectations of your customers? Are the expectations of your customers requiring to use different technology? Those are all environmental considerations. Typically, we do that through a process of focus groups or surveys. So the future state of your workforce is where you'll project, and SACS has technology to help you do this, you'll project the workforce that you need to deliver the outcomes that you're going to need 2-3 years down the track, let's say. And that could be quantitative. We're going to need more of this type of employee and we might need less of this type of employee. But it could also be qualitative. In other words, the skills and competencies that are necessary to be able to deliver the outcomes of the future. You also see that we seek to project the environmental factors surrounding the future workforce. And what that's really talking about is, will the environmental factors change? I mean, is legislation changing? Is expectations of customers changing? Is quality standards changing? Whatever. All of those things should be factored into your workforce plan and may impact the type of people that you're going to need in the future. You'll also see that there are people plans here. People Plan 1 and People Plan 2 are all about the specific things that you need to do in year 1 and year 2 in order to achieve the outcomes that you have forecast as being necessary. And those people plans are in fact the business case for workforce planning. In this year, we're going to do these things to create the workforce of the future. That's what we call the build option, where you'll train your employees to be able to do this stuff. And also the buy option, who will we need to recruit? Workforce planning is always a mix of build and buy, and the people plans in effect document that. And for executive teams, this is a wonderful thing because they see what you're intending to do, and it gives a sense of accountability to the workforce planning process. And then you see at the bottom you have enablers, process and culture, including leadership. So one of the things that we find is that people feel that they have an effective workforce plan and they really know where they're going to. But do they have the leadership skills in order to deliver this? Do they have the recruitment practices necessary? Do they have the performance development practices necessary? Do they have the talent identification and talent development practices necessary? Those are all enablers, and they help you to achieve your workforce plan. So workforce planning overall is an integrated process of working out where you are now, where you're going to need to be in the future, and building a plan to get there, ensuring along the way that you've got the enablers necessary to empower you to be able to do that, to help you to be able to build and buy the workforce of the future. And the cycle becomes a rolling reforecast of, let's say, 2 to 3 years. We find that organisations build these skills, and as they undertake workforce planning on a cyclical basis, they increase their skills in workforce planning. Now, the final thing I say about workforce planning is that workforce planning is not set in concrete. It's a sort of thing that should be able to be recast at any moment. You get a big change in environmental factors, a change in economy, a change in legislation or whatever. You should pull out your workforce plan and you should then reset it to adjust to those new changes. Finally, workforce planning shouldn't be a bolt-on process. In effect, make your workforce plan where the intellectual property that you have for people management and for projections and for budgeting and all that sort of stuff, make that where it lives in the workforce plan. If you'd like to find out more about workforce planning, get in contact with SACS or click on the link near this video.